And we begin tonight with an ABC 27 News investigation, and it affects everybody in Pennsylvania.
Public records and unpaid bills reveal a government disagreement over keeping our waterways clean. We found two big agencies are not paying up. As a result, taxpayers may foot a big bill. Here's Amanda St. Hilaire's investigation.
When it rains, some of the water that falls on your property gets absorbed into the ground. Some of it hits your rooftop, your driveway. Those are called impervious surfaces. Instead of getting absorbed in the ground, the water goes somewhere else. In this case, down the road to an inlet. That goes into a ditch. The water there eventually makes its way to the Conneaut, which flows into the Susquehanna River. The problem is that stormwater is carrying a whole bunch of stuff that pollutes the water we use for drinking and recreation. It's a major contributor, for example, to that green stuff you sometimes see out on the Susquehanna River. So a federal mandate regulated by the state requires local governments to clean up stormwater. That costs money, a lot of money, your money. And that means every PA municipality is trying to figure out how to pay. Bringing us to Cumberland County, all eyes on Hampton Township, the first in the state to use a stormwater authority to enact a stormwater fee.
So that everybody that participates in the problem helps to pay for the solution.
Residential properties pay a flat fee.
All these little red dots are homes.
Non-residential properties pay based on the amount of impervious surface. The money goes towards stormwater projects, like finding ways to keep Trindle Road from flooding so easily. The fee allows Hampton Township to bill tax-exempt organizations. If this were a typical day-to-day story, we'd be wrapping up right about now. But our investigation found unpaid bills, arguments over how your money is spent, and a whole lot of public records.
We don't know what else to do.
PennDOT, the state, got a bill for its impervious roads in the township. Naval Support Activity, the feds, also got a bill. 1 year later, neither has paid.
So it's sort of ironic that the two agencies that gave us the mandate are the only two that haven't figured out a way to pay the township their share.
Hampton Township says combined, the state and feds owe more than $400,000.
We've been through this many times with the federal and the state government. When they give us a mandate, they really don't care that it's a burden on our businesses and our residents. They say you have to do it. So now we give them a bill. And we said, look guys, our people are having to pay. You have impervious surface in our township. You got to pay too.
Township leaders say if they don't get that money, you end up paying, whether it's through higher stormwater fees, taxpayer-funded legal battles, or EPA fines if the township doesn't have enough dough to do the required projects.
Build the churches, build the hospitals, build your residents. But we don't want to be there. I don't think that's a good message.
PennDOT and the Navy base pay. They're, of course, using taxpayer dollars as well.
Correct.
So it sounds like either way, taxpayers foot the bill.
That's correct. Taxpayers are paying their way.
But Hampton insists holding the government accountable for paying into government requirements is more beneficial for your money down the road. PennDOT and the Navy say it's not that simple. Let's start with PennDOT.
We continue to have discussions with the township and are working hard to try to resolve this issue.
Public records show PennDOT refusing to pay the fee.
The position over time has been that the fee, in our interpretation, appears to be a tax, and our interpretation is that state law exempts PennDOT from having to pay a local tax.
The township says it's not a tax. That back and forth has been going on for a while. Keep in mind, this is not just about a bill for one township. If PennDOT pays Hampton, that eventually means paying everyone else.
Again, there are complications here, but at this point, we're working amicably, and all the government units are trying to do the right thing, trying to protect the environment while managing all of our assets in a responsible way.
PennDOT also has its own requirements to clean up stormwater. So does the Navy.
Okay, so this is the biggest stormwater retention pond ever attempted in the Navy.
Naval Support Activity Commanding Officer Captain Rudy Geisler says the Navy's not refusing to pay. just questioning the size of the bill, especially considering its own cleanup efforts.
So the stormwater that's coming from the east is going to come in and be filtrated here.
Hampton Township says it's already factored that in by offering a 50% credit.
I can understand the logic. In the end, we ultimately fall under the Department of Defense instruction on how we manage this and how the fees are payable.
Captain Geisler says, based on this map, 98% of naval support activity stormwater does not even go into Hampton Township.
And ultimately, it goes into our ditch.
The thought is that ditch, owned by the Navy, absorbs much of the water into the ground. What's left empties outside the township.
We will go through the process, and in the end, if there's a determination that we have a responsibility, that we are contributing to the Hampton Township stormwater expenses, then we will pay our share of that bill.
But Hampton leaders say it would not be fair to allow that for the Navy because those same extensive measurements are virtually impossible to do for all the 11,000 properties in the township. Lots of homes and organizations have stormwater that goes into other municipalities, but they still pay their full bill based on impervious surface.
Do you think Hampton Township in this case should treat the Navy differently than other properties?
I think Hampton Township's a better source of going into their specific processes and how they want to do it. I know what the DoD regs say, and we're required to follow that.
The Navy says it's also trying to be fair.
Because we don't want inconsistency across the nation. We don't want inconsistency from state to state. We want a standard set of criteria.
So although the parties involved disagree, that might not be a bad thing.
Is it an example of the institutions involved all kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing to protect their respective constituents?
I guess you could make that argument, and yeah, there could be some conflicting issues in there, but in the end, we'll sit down and work it out.
And we do have updated numbers for you. Hampton Township says at this point, PennDOT owes more than $113,000 in stormwater fees. The Navy owes more than $431,000. So all parties involved say they're trying to protect your money. They're just doing it in different ways.
Now, how long could it take to sort all this out?
It could take years. That's how long it's taken in other parts of the country, in other parts of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, for example, to sort out this same issue.
And eventually, this is going to affect everybody watching this. It's Hampton right now, but everybody's going to have to deal with this.
That's right. Really what happens in Hampton Township sets the stage for the rest of the state. So I know stormwater doesn't always sound like the most exciting topic, but it affects everyone's water. It affects our money. So what happens here is really important. So for everyone at home watching this tonight, if your local government leaders haven't already been talking about this, they will soon.
Love that you're on it.
Great job.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.